Every week in America, someone opens a door they never expected to open: a storage unit, a quiet neighborhood house, a rental home. And inside, instead of belongings or furniture, they discover lethal poison waiting to be moved into our communities. This week is no different. Across the country, from Colorado to Seattle to Georgia, law enforcement uncovered massive amounts of counterfeit fentanyl pills, fentanyl powder, and emerging synthetic opioids that are even more dangerous than we're used to seeing. And behind every number is a family just like mine and like yours. Welcome back to Logan's Voice. I'm Doug Ballinger, Logan's dad. Before we jump in, please take a second to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Your support helps these stories reach more people and helps us protect more families from the poison drug supply. All right, let's get into this week's update. We begin in Highlands Ranch, Colorado, where an ordinary storage unit auction turned into one of the biggest drug discoveries of the year. A man purchased the contents of a storage unit expecting the usual forgotten belongings. Instead, he opened sealed boxes and found tightly wrapped bundles of counterfeit pills. Law enforcement was called immediately. Their estimate was staggering. Inside that single storage unit were about 1.7 million counterfeit fentanyl pills and 12 kilograms of fentanyl powder. That amount of powder could have produced another 6 million pills. In total, the potential loss of life represented by this stash reaches into the millions. But here's the part that should alarm every single listener. The man who rented this storage unit was already in federal custody on unrelated drug charges. That means someone else had the keys. Someone else knew this poison was stored there. Someone else was planning to get these pills into the hands of people who never had a chance against them. It's a powerful reminder that these networks do not collapse when one person is arrested. They shift, they adapt, and they keep going right in the middle of suburban neighborhoods where kids ride bikes and families decorate for the holidays. Next, we move to the Pacific Northwest. On the same day, November 20th, federal authorities in Washington announced the takedown of a large trafficking network responsible for moving fentanyl, methamphetamine, and firearms through the Seattle area. 18 individuals were arrested after long term investigations involving multiple agencies. Officials reported seizing enough fentanyl to equal 3.4 million lethal doses. That's not a typo. A dose smaller than a grain of sand can be deadly, and this network had millions of them ready for distribution. Law enforcement celebrated the success of this operation, but they also acknowledged a reality people need to hear more often. Even when you take out 18 people, even when you seize millions of lethal doses, the flow does not stop. Someone else steps in. Another group fills the gap. That's not slowing down, it's shifting. Now, let's turn to Clayton County, Georgia. On November 14th, federal agents executed a search warrant on what looked like a peaceful rental home in Forest Park. Inside, they discovered 21 kilograms of fentanyl, plus nearly $380,000 in cash and a firearm. Two men were arrested. 21 kilograms of fentanyl represents enough poison to devastate entire communities. And this was not hidden in an industrial warehouse or an isolated building. This is in a neighborhood where families walk their dogs and send their kids to school. The poison drug supply is not an urban issue. It's everywhere. On November 18th, Rolling Stone published a deep report on nitazene, a class of synthetic opioids stronger than fentanyl. Many people have never heard the word nitazene, but they are showing up more and more in toxicology reports and seized drug samples. Nitazenes were developed in the 1950s but abandoned because they were too dangerous for medical use. Now, illicit manufacturers are bringing them back, mixing them into counterfeit pills and powder. One of the most frightening aspects is that naloxone does not always work on nitazene overdoses. Some people need multiple doses. Some may not respond at all. This crisis is evolving, and the drug supply is getting more unpredictable and more lethal by the month. A border security report released on November 21st showed a significant drop in fentanyl seizures along the U.S. Mexico border. At first glance, that might look like progress. Experts say the opposite. A steep drop in seizures usually means traffickers have changed tactics. They may be sending fentanyl through different routes or producing more of it inside the United States, so less needs to cross the border. Meanwhile, cocaine seizures increase sharply. This is not a sign of improvement, it's a sign of evolution. The DEA reports that 2025 saw more than 323 million potentially deadly doses of fentanyl seized across the United States. 323 million potentially deadly doses. Customs and Border Protection reported 19,000 pounds of fentanyl seized in the year 2024. And CDC provisional data shows overdose deaths remain extremely high across multiple states, with about 69% of all overdose deaths in 2024 involving opioids. These are not statistics, these are people, just like Logan, just like your loved one. If these stories feel heavy, that's because they are heavy. They represent the truth of what families in this country are facing every single day. A drug supply poisoned at every level, networks that adapt faster than law enforcement can respond, and children who never stood a chance against counterfeit pills that were designed to look safe. That's why I speak out. That's why I do this work. Because once your child is gone, there's no turning back. And the only thing we can do is fight to keep it from happening to someone else's family. Logan deserved better. All of our children deserved better. If this update helped you understand the crisis more clearly, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Share this episode with someone who needs to hear the truth. Visit logansvoice.org for resources, stories, and ways to stay informed. Together we can save lives, and together we can make sure our children are never forgotten. I am Logan's voice. I am Logan's dad, and I will not be silent.